Well, today's episode, we're going to continue more with the quarterfinals of the New Japan Cup. As you know, we got Tetsuya Naito facing off once again his adversary that he faced in Wrestle Kingdom. We're talking about Jeff Cobb. And of course, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Shima, taking on the Rainmaker, Kaguchika Okada. And also, we're going to review of the recent events by NWA with the Crockett Cup. So as you know, it's a 2-day event. I haven't seen day one yet, but I'm going to do that right now. But also, we cannot forget AAW. As you know, there were some certain changes in this particular card. Apparently, the AAW women's title will not be on the line due to certain circumstances that kind of postpone this match to take place. But everything else will definitely be fine. Anything else? I'll throw in some news updates for all of you. So, let's get started with another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with day 12 in the quarterfinals of the New Japan Cup. As you know, we're getting closer and closer to find out who will win this cup. Now, everybody is already predicting it, but me, I don't, because I can see how this one will turn out. Basically, you can see the alternatives. As you know, Will Ospreay wants to be back-to-back New Japan Cup. If Okada wins, that means he gets to pick his opponent. If Tetsuya Naito wins, he gets what he wants again. Let's see who else. If Hiromu Takahashi wins, you probably can guess he will get a shot of the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. So anything could happen. But right now, let's go start with the first match. Now we got the pair of young lions. We're talking about Rohi Oiwa, Kosei Fujita, and Yuto Nakashima taking on Tiger Mask and Tiger Mask. No, my bad. It's Chaos with Tomohiro Ishii, Yo, and of course we cannot forget the resident trickster, the producer, Yano. Now, as you can tell, Young Lions are supposed to lose this match. It kind of did, because it was Yo who picked up the victory. However, I don't know what Fujita got himself into. He decided to pick a fight with Ishii. Now, if you guys know Ishii, he's a very tough SOB. You definitely don't want to be in front of him and pick a fight because he'll knock you down. That's exactly what Fujita did. So, if I was Fujita, be careful what you wish for, because you don't want to end up in a one-on-one match with him. Next up, we got Satoshi Kojima teaming up with the ace Hiroshi Tanahashi to take on the current IWGP heavyweight tag team champions. We got Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. Now, keep in mind, Tanahashi, along with 6 or 9, they do have a shot for the never openweight 6-man tag team champions. However, if he or Kojima were defeat Goto and Yoshihashi, they can get an opportunity for the IWGP heavyweight tag team titles. But however, in this match, you know how hard hitting Goto and Yoshihashi have been as a team, but it was Goto to put away Satoshi Kojima in order to ensure their tag team reign will reign as soon as if there is a much worthy challengers for them. Next up, the never-ending rivalry between the Bullet Club and the former Bullet Club, along with their new friends. We're talking about in the Bullet Club, Ghetto El Phantasmo, Taiji Shimura, Chase Owens, and Balak Fale taking on the God, Tama and Tonga, along with 6 or 9s, Taguchi and Wato. Being also joining them is leading the pack is none other than Yado. Now you probably say this would have been a fair fight for for the God and 6 or 9, but however, as you know, there's always some dirty tactics that being played. But once again, the ref did not see what Chase Owens did. Basically, he low blowed Yado in order for him to put the the Z trigger onto him, and then boom, the crown jewel. I think that's what he pulled. But allowing him to pin Yano. As you know, Yano was always been pinned the entire time. I don't know. They need to change their tactics to put not to have Yado involved in this. Now, next up, we got the House of Torture, Dick Togo, Yujiro Takahashi, Sho, and Evil taking on Suzuki-Gun's Taka Michinoku, Kanemaru, Minoru Suzuki, and Desperado. Now, keep in mind, Sho has set his sight on the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship on Desperado. As you know, instead of asking him permission that he wants to challenge, he kept attacking him, even though the New Japan matchmakers will never allow this match to happen. So basically, it's still an open question. But knowing Despy, he probably definitely want this match. But luckily, it didn't end in that way. It ended with, of course, Yujiro Takahashi pinning what's his name, uh, Taka in this match, allowing themselves to win. But however, the feud between both Despy and Sho continues on until we get that one match that probably is being asked for. Our next match, we got Tiger Mask teaming up with GBH, Hamna, and Makabe to take on LIJ's Bushi, Hiromu, and Shingo. Now, keep in mind, Sonata is out due to an audible bone fracture that he had against Will Ospreay. So basically, he'll be out for a couple weeks or months. I don't know, depending on how serious it gets. But in this particular match, as you know, Hiromu and Shingo are still alive in the New Japan Cup. But there's now those who are predicting that we could see both Hiromu and Shingo face off against each other. I mean, it would be a very interesting match. But I think the obvious question is, can Hiromu withstand Shingo? We don't know. But I have to say the match ended pretty well with Shingo applying the pumping bomber onto Tama on Humna, allowing themselves to win. Next up, we got the Great Khan, Aaron Henare, and Will Ospreay taking on, of course, Suzuki Gun's Doiki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. Now, keep in mind, the next quarterfinal features Will Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. Now, these two guys had known each other for a long time. There was the battle of the Brits. Now, keep in mind, last time Zack Sabre Jr. broke the nose of Will Ospreay, and now Will Ospreay is on the verge of breaking his face. But he now knows he needs to stay focused on the fact that he has to win the New Japan Cup to get the one title that he felt it rightfully belongs to him. I'm talking about the IWGP World Title. But however, Zack Sabre Jr., you know how good of a technician he is. It could fit. But in this particular case, Hinari was the only one who was able to pin Doiki in this match, while Taichi was playing sumo wrestler with Khan, and of course, um, Zack Sabre Jr. was being tangled by Will Ospreay. But we'll see what happens when those two collide. I can't wait to see that match. Now, our next two matches we have is the quarterfinals of the New Japan Cup. First one, we got Jeff Cobb of the United Empire taking on the leader of LIJ, Tetsuya Naito. Now, remember, in Wrestle Kingdom not too long ago, it was Naito who defeated Jeff Cobb. Now, Cobb is confident enough to believe that he learned his mistake and will not fall for the same trick again. Keep in mind, Cobb's only weakness is his legs. Basically, he has a lot of upper body strength, but the legs are kept them weak, if anybody have noticed. I don't know if that's what Naito's game plan is, to use the same tactic as last time, but this time he did. Apparently, he pulled up in schoolboy move, which is a very old move that has been done many times. It did allow for Naito to remain in the New Japan Cup, but as for Jeff Cobb, he is officially out. So that means we only got one member left of the of the United Empire, and that is, of course, Will Ospreay. Our main event, we have Shima, who we all known from Dragon Gate, then traveled around the world in the Independence. He was also involved with OWE, then GLEAD, now facing off against the Rainmaker, Kaguchika Okada. I have to say, what a match. You know, these two guys are almost the same. You look at Shima, he was like the leader of Dragon Gate. You know, he was the guy who was like Okada, their version of it. But since he left, things have not been the same for Dragon Gate. So, but seeing these two face off now, some of you probably know Shima's background. He's a junior heavyweight competitor, but you probably say, can a junior heavyweight competitor can stay along with a guy like Okada, who's a heavyweight? Yes, it can because we already seen that with Taiji Shimuri and several others. But in this particular match, you know the main weapon that Shima has is the Meteora, both the blind and the front side. But he was able to pull it, but it did not put away the Rainmaker until Okada finally put him away with the Rainmaker, allowing himself to advance. But in the end, Okada gave respect to Shima. Shima returned the favor. So I have to say, seeing these two guys who are more like the leaders of their own respective promotions, it's kind of amazing to see that level of respect. And I know many fans would love to see Shima come back. The only reason Shima came to New Japan, as you know, because of the border restrictions of COVID-19. But I would love to see Shima come back to New Japan, and I hope everybody does too. So right now, let's move on with NWA Crockett Cup. Okie dokie. So let's talk about the National Wrestling Alliance with the latest Crockett Cup. Now, those who are new here, you probably ask yourself, what the hell is a Crockett Cup? Now, if you guys are familiarized with Jim Crockett's promotions, this is one of those times during the territorial eras, and of course, very interesting. Where every year they have, of course, tag teams from all over the regions to compete. Now, ever since what's his name, William Patrick Corgan, or as we know him, Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, basically brought back the Crockett Cup and made it what it is. Um, basically, we were supposed to have a Crockett Cup in 2020, but it never happened due to the fact of the COVID. Uh, Same thing took place of course, in 2021. But now that it's back, there's been some interesting tag teams. Apparently, we were supposed to have 20, but it ended up with 16. But let's get to every team that they had in every round in the first round. First round we have is Hawks Array, consistent of PJ and Luke Hawks, father and son taking on DN. I have to say this was a very good match because basically many people would have been rooting for Hawks Airy because they would like to see a father and son duo win. Now, you probably say in your back of your heads, we already saw that with Rey Mysterio and Dominic. Yeah, that was a different scenario, but this is different. But somehow, I don't know how, Luke Hawks actually did a Razor's Edge on Pero. I mean, Pero was a huge dude, but they were able to pick up victory thanks to PJ. But in the post match, Deanne decided to attack and gave Luke Hawks a big concussion. Now it was still unclear whether if he was able to wrestle or not. Next up, we have, of course, is the Cardonas, consistent of VSK and Mike Knox. Now, this was a demand by Matt Cardona, who believes that he's there to save the NWA, but I'll get to that in the end until I talk about it. But he did. Their opponents was none other than the Pope and Nims. Now, Mike Knox has his history with Pope because they put him out of action for months. So this is more of a payback. Now, things would have gone Pope and Nims' way because they were the fans' favorites, but somehow VSK and Mike Knox were able to what's his name? VSK did like a sort of a frog splash onto Nims in order to win the match, and they advanced. Now, many people were not happy with it, including Velvet Sky, but yeah. Now, we do have the Sexy Dirty Boys taking on Well, we were supposed to have Kratos and uh, Aaron Stevens, but Kratos was nowhere to be found, so he replaced them with none other than the Blue Meanie. So yeah, I have to say it was a very unusual pick, but fun. But unfortunately, it didn't go so well because it ended up with, of course, 360 boys winning the match. Now, next one we have is Strictly Business versus Gold Rush. Strictly Business were the heavy favorite to win this one, even though nobody likes their tactics, but they would have preferred them. But Black G's and Tyrus decided to get involved and took matters in their own hands. To Black G's distracted the ref, no, the ref, while they were able to get a title and give Tom Latimer the low blow. So basically, that's how the whole thing ended. It was really messed up. I'm sure Tom Latimer will get his day against these guys one day, but right now we need to move on. Now, our next match, we have the Ill Begotten. It was still unclear who it was going to be. Captain Nemo once again was excluded out, but they were facing against a much serious team. I'm talking about Doug Williams, the ambassador of British Pro Wrestling, teaming up with a member of the Hart family and the son of the British Bulldog, Davy Boy Smith. I was surprised. Originally, we were supposed to have the British Invasion, but however, Nick Aldis ended up decided to face Matt Cardona to regain back the NWA World Title from him from his incident. So that's how it is. Things would have gone. Things turned exactly like people hoped for because they were rooting for Williams and Smith because they are both, as you know, we know that Harry Smith is British by blood by his father, but it was a very interesting match. Unfortunately, Il Begun did not got hit their way. Yuma got involved and basically almost cost him the match. But yeah, now our next match, we have um, the band new twins Tates taking on La Rebellion. Now you know for a fact that La Rebellion are also amongst the heavy favorites, and they are the current NWA World Tag Team Champions. I have to say they have proven their point that they will decimate the entire tag team division in order to win the Crockett Cup, to be the first Latinos to win it. That's their goal. Now our next round match is the quarterfinals. We have the Fixers who were able to already won their first rounds against OGK, who they call them OG Nerds, to take on none other than the Cardonas. Now, Velvet Sky, who, in the other hand, was rooting for the Fixers not because let's just not because she wants to. It's because she hopes that the Cardonas are out. Things would have been in that type of scenario, but the Cardonas somehow were able to overcome this. They were able to separate the wrecking ball away from Jay Bradley, and it kind of gave them the edge to win. Next up, we have the Dirty Dangos, no, Dirty Sexy Boys, taking on um, the Briscoes. Now, the Briscoes won their match, first round match, in the kickoff show or the pre-show, and I have to say, them boys, you know how they are. They love the fight. They never back down from it. And of course, it was that infamous elbow that Mark does that sealed the deal right there. Now, our next match, it was supposed to be Hawks Airy, both Luke and PJ, but Luke was unavailable. So PJ, I have to say, he put up a lot of guts to do things on his own against La Rebellion. I have to say, I give him credit where it's credit due, even though he did not win. Even La Rebellion gave him credit that he has a lot of guts to do it on his own. And I'm sure his dad would be proud of him. But fortunately, they go into the semifinals. Now, our last quarterfinal we have is Doug Williams and Harry Smith to take on Gold Rush. Now, however, in this particular match, Tyrus was being serious about this one. He says, no more fun and games. Take things seriously. You got legends here who won multiple tag titles. And he's right. You got Doug Williams, who has been Impact or TNA Tag Team Champion anywhere he goes. Same thing, Harry Smith. You gotta let the son of a British Bulldog and the grandson of Stu Hart. So basically, Tyrus knows what's at stake. However, even if that pep talk would have given them the edge, it did not work one way or the other. It was, in fact, Doug Williams that picked up the victory for their team. So it appears they were declared as the heavy favorites, and I think it was pretty good. Now, during certain interviews in this particular event, Camille talked about how she can't stand Chelsea, who she did not want to wrestle her and all that. She has a problem with the Cardonas. Everybody does. I mean, I would have assumed that Camille would have been talking about Natalia Markova, who's a pain in the butt, but no. So basically, that's how it is. And of course, VSK is for the Cardonas, it could cause a problem. Even William Patrick Corgan says, look, the NWA doesn't need saving, but it does need to evolve, and it's true. You can't. He's like saying, oh, there's no mainstream music on Power, so he's like being an over demand diva. So he knows it. He cannot give in to the demand. He's not the owner of the NWA. He may be the champion, but he's not the owner. So even if he thinks he has what it takes, it's not going to work. So we'll see where they're going to go. And I think I'm going to change this right now. Instead of going with AAW, I changed my mind. I decided, you know what? Let's do day 2 of the Crockett Cup. So let's do that right now. Okay, last review we got is day 2 of the Crockett Cup. As you know, we get to crown a brand new winner for this year. Now we continue on with the semi-final rounds. We have the Cardonas versus the Briscoes. I have to say, what a match. I don't think the Cardonas knew what themselves they got into. They believe they can go all the way because Matt Cardona promised them that. But however, when it comes to the Briscoes, you know these guys are love to fight. They know they enjoyed it. But however, the match ended when they pulled off the infamous Legion of Doom move, the uh, the Doomsday device, and that always works every time. So they ended up in the finals. Now the next match is who determines who will join them. We got the Commonwealth um, connection, should I say, Doug Williams and Davey and Harry Smith taking on La Rebellion. I have to say this was a very interesting match. Now, Rebellion did state that they were going to be going all the way, but however, having the British, having the Commonwealth connection do it, I have to say it was pretty good. But in fact, it was Doug Williams that picked up the victory to win in order to go to the finals. Alongside, they will be facing against the Briscoes. Now, the Pope, as you know, had an interview with Kyle Davis. There is a trumping card that has now been that Kyle Davis pointed out. If you recall, not too long ago, Pope, along with Velvet Sky, they were coaching of the Champions Series. Whoever wins, certain people will get an opportunity for a title shot. Pope, on the other hand, is that person that has that candidacy. He could cash in at any given time, but the real question does remain. When will that happen? Well, Pope says it's the least you expected. Now, I don't know if Matt Cardona is paying attention or not, but I would like to see Pope go for that title. Now, our next match is the National Heavyweight Championship between Jack Stain and former friend Anthony Mayweather, formerly known as Crimson. Now, this match was brutal in every way possible. Jack Stain wanted to hurt him as much as possible, which he did, but however, it was Mayweather that was able to pick up the victory by using his beat up legs for submission and force Jack Stain to tap out. Now, however, Jack Stain, it appears he had an ace up his sleeve. He was smiling. He attacked Mayweather despite the fact the match was over. But apparently we forgot he was involved in that Champion Series as well. He cashed in his while Mayweather was hurt, and that allowed him to win the National Heavyweight Championship. Next up, we got the Women's Tag Team Championships. We got Kenzie Page and Ella Envy, known as Pretty and Power, versus the Hex, Marty Bell and Allison Kay. This match was good. I think it was a pretty interesting match. Seeing the Hex, we haven't seen them for quite some time, but it was great to see them back. Um, but they were able to retain the title thanks to Marty Bell, who picked up the victory for her team. Next up is for the inaugural Junior Heavyweight Championship that has been vacated. We have a four-way match. We have Colby Corino, Darius Lockhart, and Hamas and Austin Aries. I have to say it was pretty much this match was mostly like to me. I felt it was focused was on Homicide and Austin Aries because these are two amazing wrestlers in the junior heavyweight division. But the real question who would walk out? But luckily it was Homicide, who was his birthday, actually pulled off the Gringo Killer and pulled it off by winning the match and becoming our brand new NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion. Now, before our next match began, Kyle Davis brought back into the podium for an interview, and that is the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Trevor Murdoch. Now, it appears that he has some issues towards Nick Aldis. If you recall, Nick Aldis stated that he talked to Murdoch saying that he was okay with the idea of him pursuing this title. Now, for him, he felt like that's a lot of lies and all this, but he knows that he took his opportunity, but he is not done with Cardona one way or the other. Trust me, and that's how Murdoch wants to play it. Cardona will do whatever it takes to ensure that title stays with them because he believes he is the true savior of the NWA. Now, our next match, we have a three-way match with Kylie Ray versus Chelsea Green versus Camille. Now, originally we were supposed to have in Power Trip the match between Camille and Kylie Ray since she basically Kylie Ray was unable to make it, but this time, what's his name? Matt Cardona used his influence to put his wife in the match, but luckily the match did not go exactly. It was Camille who speared Kylie Ray in order to retain the title, and better luck next time, Chelsea. So basically, it did not win, but her knight in shiny armor shows up. So we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match, we have the NWA World Television title. We have Rodney Mack versus Tyrus. It was a pretty good match between old school and a little bit of the new school. But however, it was the punch in the heart to Rodney Mack that finished him off in order for Tyrus to retain this title. And to be honest with you, I lost track how many wins he had because if you guys remember, if he wins 7 matches, he gets an NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And now I'm thinking of it, I'm wondering if he can take that belt off from Cardona. That's the thing that really gets me thinking about, you know. But we'll see. Now our next match, well, our next interview we have is Aaron Stevens. We don't know what's going on with him and Kratos. We haven't seen him. The bigger question is he becoming a singles competitor or are still tag team? It's still unclear. But he was talking all this and that, you know, being that he talks a lot of nonsense. So I just didn't know what to make of it. But yeah, now let's get to our Crockett Cup finals between the Briscoes and the Commonwealth connection. I thought this match was amazing. You know, I loved every moment of it. Now, these were two of the fan favorites by many fans. I think it would have gone either way, but it was the Briscoes that picked up the victory with the elbow onto Doug Williams and allowing them to become the first time ever Crockett Cup. Last time they were perceived for this, but they were disqualified when they were facing against members of what used to be the Villain Enterprises. Now, our next match, it features, of course, Jeff Jarrett as the special guest referee per request by Matt Cardona. This is between Nick Aldis and Matt Cardona. Now, Cardona would do anything possible to keep that title, but of course, his guinea pigs, the Cardonas, VSK and Mike Knox, show up. Luckily for Aldis, the Commonwealth Connection show gave the helping hand. While all this was happening, Jeff Jarrett had his back turned, did not see that Chelsea Green, Matt Cardona's wife, gave him the low blow, and here comes Mickie James to give her a piece of her mind. But Nick Aldis had Matt Cardona right where he wanted him. He actually put him in a submission the cloverleaf lock, but however, it was overturned by saying that this was ended in the result of disqualification because he thought it was Mickey James that gave him the low blow. And this was a load of horse crap for many fans. They all know it wasn't Mickey, it was Chelsea. And for Matt, he thought things have gone better for him. But the real question does remain now. Is this far over between both Nick and Matt Cardona? I don't think so. But however, they have to find ways to remove this belt away from Matt Cardona before he decides to make things worse for him for the NWA. But right now, let's just wait to see. Let's do a little bit of news updates. Okay, welcome to the news updates. I only have two that I need to update everybody. Has now been reported by various sources that Hernandez is no longer with Impact Wrestling. I'm afraid he's done. He just finished up with them. We haven't seen him for almost a couple of months, though, but there were reports and rumors surfacing that he was injured during this entire time, but we don't know how long his contract was expired. But all we can do is wish him luck into his future endeavors. Now, for all you Stardom fans out there, you may have heard what just transpired in the main event. It appears that Sudi may be on her way out from her faction, DDM. Now, you probably ask yourselves, does this mean that DDM are splitting? Well, to me, it doesn't seem like it. The reason this is happening was because Sudi is the current uh, World of Stardom champion, basically the red belt, which is the prestigious belt. Julia wants to pursue this belt, but basically she cannot be in the same faction with Julia, so she made the decision. Now there are fans out there that are speculating that we may see not only Sudi may be leaving, but Himeka, Maika, and Boy make their decisions to leave. Because the problem there's been arising, we don't know if if these three individuals, all four of them, that they approve of the idea of having the newer members come in, like Mirai, Tekla, and then of course Mai Sakurai, who just recently, earlier this year, betrayed the Cosmic Angels. That is the thing we don't know. But however, this could some people are already now speculating we could have a DDM split. There has been a lot of talk about DDM have become an 8-member group. There are way too many members. The minimum we have seen so far was between 6 and 7, but 8, I don't know. That is a big number in Stardom. But hopefully we will find out more what's going to take place. Now keep in mind, on the 26th, Julia will face Sudai for the belt. But if Sudai loses the belt, she will have no other choice but to face with the members of Prominence. We don't know for sure if that's the case, but we'll see where they're going to go. So I think that's pretty much it. So I'm going to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we will have Choco Pro's latest show, 211, with a very interesting surprise for everyone. We got New Japan Pro Wrestling with more of the New Japan Cup. And then, of course, we got AEW Dark Elevation. And we cannot forget the most recent show this past Saturday, AEW Epic. So, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.